the lame ass arguments that evolutionists and atheists give. Okay, well, I thought I'd do a video on this just to kind of point out something that is really obvious to us who are not atheists. And don't believe in macroevolution, that you evolutionists and or atheists don't see. Okay, first I'm going to talk about evolution a little bit. When I look at evolution, I hear that they're always talking about how micro and macro are the same thing. And how the adaptations and mutations are neutral often, and that each person has 140 approximate mutations in their lifetime from birth to death, 108 from birth or something at 30 during their lifetime, and a lot of them tend to be basically benign, don't really do anything. Okay, and then they say after, so many thousands of generations, bacteria eventually show some adaptation properties from mutations. And, they think that they jump from this. Now, they don't think it's a jump, but they go from this to, you came from a fish. And what I wanted to point out is just, I'm a computer programmer. I'm also an engineer, mechanical engineer, and actually my thematic studies were in power plant technology and computer-aided engineering. Okay, at any rate, what I was trying to get at is you have all these operating systems on computers, such as Windows 7, Windows 8, and you can trace that all the way back to, you had Windows, okay, going back, you had Windows XP, you had Windows 8, Windows 7, Windows XP, you keep going back, what was it, Windows 95, even way back, you had Windows 95. Didn't you have like Windows 3.1 or something? Way back, I think it was. And then of course you have Apple's operating system. You have Linux, you have Red Hat Linux, you have all these different types of Linux programs. Sort of a tree of programs that came off from Linux, in different variants of it, but it's pretty much the same stuff. And what I'm trying to get at is this, okay? I look at these programs kind of like microevolution and the topic of macroevolution. And I look at, like Windows, I think it was Windows 3.1, wasn't that what it was called, or 3.2, 3.1, 3.2, 95, 98, I don't know if there was something between that and XP, I can't remember, dude, it's been so long, XP, Windows 7, Windows 8, whatever, you know what I'm talking about. There's Vista in there too, yeah, that's right, Vista. Went through a lot of them now. Any rate, so these programs get updates also, and you buy new versions, right? But they also get updates. Updates for their security of the software. You also have virus updates, which is not the exact same thing, but you know what I mean. You get stuff like that. Firewall updates, just everything. You got all these different updates in these program operating systems. Now, when an evolutionist says to me, well, micro and macroevolution are the same thing, it's like him telling me that Windows can become Linux, or Linux can become Apple's operating system, Mac. Okay, so it sounds like bullshit to me. Now, if they say, well, you got all these adaptations, see, it's like this. They're looking at it like, you got all these updates to Windows, and you see how it slightly changes Windows, and how it makes it better. So that proves that Windows can become Linux. No, it doesn't prove it. You're making a huge, massive, ridiculously retarded leap. Okay? Because your religion of evolution, atheism, whatever, compels you to do it.
Evolution can't be disproven, so you just have to come up with ways so people can, just not like it.
I compel you in the name of evolution. I compel you in the name of... I'm just joking. Okay. That was from The Exorcism, right? At any rate, my point is that obviously Windows does not become Mac OS. Doesn't become Linux. Okay? Doesn't make any sense to think that. That's how they think of it. They're like, well, it's so obvious. It gets adaptation, it changes, and you can see how these programmers had our similar roots. You follow all the way back, and you can see how they have the similar programming language. You break it down into little bits, DNA, or binary code, and you can see how all these programs fall back into a single 101 code originally, and that proves that, of course, Windows came from the same ancestor as Mac OS, and Mac OS came from the same ancestor as Linux, and you're an effing retard. You're a cretard for believing that somebody actually created Windows. What are you, stupid? Of course there's no intelligent designers of Windows, no intelligent designers of Linux, no intelligent designers of Mac OS, I'm sure. Don't take no offense if you helped design those programs, please. Yeah, that's how you look to me, okay? That's how your evolution looks to me. Then, the most ridiculously stupid argument, the main argument that atheists postulate, is that they have no requirement to prove their position because they're not making a claim. You cretards, you believers in God, you Bible thumpers, you have to prove. You have the burden of proof on your side, and you have to prove there's a God. You stupid cretard. Okay, well, atheists, do you know how stupid your argument is? Let me show you how stupid your argument is. Your argument only works if you're agnostic, not atheist. Because an agnostic doesn't claim anything. He doesn't claim anything, so he has no burden of proof. But guess what? The atheist does claim something. They claim there's no God. I didn't claim that. I'm an atheist. I never claimed that. Why don't you read Wikipedia? And tell your atheist brothers on Wikipedia to use their brain and change the definition of what atheism is, if you have no claim. I mean, I just did a Google search. First thing that comes up at the top, Wikipedia for atheism. I just typed in atheism. Atheism, the second sentence. Atheism, in a narrower sense, is specifically the position that there are no deities. It's a position that there are no deities. So by taking a position, you are claiming there's no deities without any logic or scientific proof. Which means you're being illogical and unscientific according to your own standards. It's called hypocrisy, you know? It's called hypocrisy. It's called having an idiotic, retarded, freaking argument. That's what it is. And, you know, at first, for like a first glimmer of a second, I almost fell. I never fell for it, actually. But for a second, I started, you know, maybe I should be an idiot like all the others and actually, you know, pretend as if this argument means something. And then I was like, wait a second here. This is total bullshit. This is total bullshit. They're saying that they have no claim when they have a claim. And I was thinking to myself while I was watching a video by called Dusty, and he called himself an agnostic atheist. And I think the reason why he did that is because he knew how stupid it was to claim he was just an atheist, because then he couldn't use the main argument all atheists use, which is that they have no claim. You can't use it if he says he's just an atheist. That's how stupid it is, okay? And I think it's so hilarious how they, like, you know, hijack science and say, you know, wear these, like, got logic shirts and, you know, pretend as if they're all scientific when actually they literally have no scientific evidence. There's no God. They have literally no evidence whatsoever, any logical arguments at all, saying there's no God. I can provide two arguments, logic arguments, that there is a God. Just using pure logic. I actually do it on two videos. The ontological argument via modal logic that was postulated by Gödel, which is one of Einstein's friends, and then also the argument Stephen Hawking brought forth, which he didn't realize he actually proved God exists with, and I actually show how he was incorrect in his postulation. Just check out my video about Stephen Hawking, and I show you the logical argument he postulated and didn't realize he actually proved there's a God. But he says you don't need to invoke God, even though he basically invokes him with his argument. He just like somehow tries to, you know, talk his way out of it. And it's like that's what's so funny about it. It's like they have the proof in front of them, but they like still deny it or something. There's no God, even though I proved it. There's no God. It's kind of funny, actually. So what I'm saying is the main argument atheists use is completely stupid and imbecilic, and I would hope, you know, it just makes me think all atheists have a very low IQ if this is the main argument all of them use. So I'm hoping, I think Dusty might be smarter than some of the other atheists out there, because I think he figured out that it's a stupid-ass argument, because he started calling himself an agnostic atheist, which makes me think he actually has a brain in his head. And actually he's one of the few atheists I think actually makes good points once in a while, which is kind of amazing. But, you know, out of all the atheists I've watched on YouTube, he's about the only one that actually makes sense once in a while. Because he says stuff I actually say, but I'm a Christian and I say stuff he says. Like, I I think the church is ridiculously anti-sex. And I don't think they get it from the original scriptures, although they think they do. At any rate, whatever. So the point is that a lot of people just teach bullshit. And I just wanted to cover real quick this stuff. That, evolution, when these evolutionists, claim micro and macro evolution are the same thing, just think of the operating system thing I was talking about. Just because you get updates on your operating system and it makes them run better, doesn't mean it's going to become Linux, or had some distant relative in the past, some Cro-Magnon Windows or something. It's retarded. Okay, and to deny that it was intelligently created, that's basically what these evolutionists are doing. They're literally, it's the same thing. What's the difference? Tell me what's the difference, other than humans being more complex and more intricate in their design than a computer program. What is the difference? Okay, if anything, I could easily argue it far more so on the human side than I could on the computer programming side. And it's altogether obvious to atheists and Christians that computer programs were obviously intelligently designed, but for some reason, when it comes to humans, of course we weren't designed, although it's totally obvious we were. So, at any rate, thanks for watching.